Welcome back, everybody. The breaking news that I told you about at the top of the hour, Attorney General Ken Paxton has been acquitted of all impeachment articles against him in the Texas legislature. I want to bring in Democrat and State Senator Roland Gutierrez to talk more about that, who just emerged from issuing his votes over the last couple of hours or so. State Senator Gutierrez, thanks for hustling for us to a camera to talk more about this. Give me first your reaction to the acquittal of State Attorney General Ken Paxton.
Thank you, Yasmin. Thank you for the time. Absolutely ridiculous, Yasmin, what just went on over the last 2 hours, over the last 2 weeks. This is an absolute political response and a political reaction by Republicans. Rather than to seek justice, rather than to see the evidence that we all saw in the public for the last 2 weeks, the fact that this man was bribed by a developer, was given over $120,000 in house renovations. It was only until the day that he got caught that he decided to pay them. That same developer paid for his girlfriend to have a job. So many things that transpired in this process. Fired 7 highly conservative Republican whistleblowers. Just ridiculous where we are in Texas today, Yasmin.
When you hear that the state attorney general is going to be targeting the Republicans that voted against him, I believe there were 2. How does that make you react? What do you expect those targets to look like from this state attorney general?
Yasmin, they've already made these threats against the 60 or so Republicans in the House of Representatives and these 2 Republicans of good conscience. Listen, the rest of the world saw this in black and white and in full color, quite frankly, Yasmin. We saw all of the evidence that was presented to us, and what we saw was crystal clear that Ken Paxton was bought off, he was coerced, he conspired to steal government resources to give this man confidential FBI information. That man is now under 8 counts of a federal indictment, has been arrested 2 months ago. Where we are and what we saw was crystal clear for everybody but the other 18 or so Republicans that chose, 16 rather, Republicans that chose to make a different decision. To those 2 that were full of integrity and made the right decision, I commend them. I commend them. As far as this man targeting these folks, he can do whatever he wants. I imagine he's going to be busy with the FBI in the next several weeks, I hope.
Senator Gutierrez, have you had an opportunity to speak to those 2 colleagues of yours who voted in favor of impeaching the state attorney general?
They fought very hard yesterday in deliberations with their colleagues, Yasmin. There was actually more people that were on their side, but then they started making political calculations, realizing that they would not be in office in their very highly ultra-far-right conservative districts. But this is bigger than that. We should have integrity when we come in, when we take our oath of office. It is to uphold the law. What happened here wasn't a toss-up. This was an easy bank shot. Every one of these Republicans saw this evidence, the same evidence that you saw for the last 2 weeks. They should have all voted for conviction, but they made the political choice, the expedient choice, rather than the hard decisions. And sometimes you have to risk the consequences when it's about integrity, when it's about justice. Clearly, there was no justice in Texas today, Yasmin.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was Republicans, obviously House Republicans as well, that were being very outspoken about the impending possible impeachment of the state attorney general. And so now that he has in fact been acquitted, is there a possible fracture within the Republican Party and the legislature there in Texas that Democrats can seize on?
Yasmin, the evidence against this man was so great that about 60 Republicans in the House of Representatives chose to impeach him. And they saw that evidence just like we all did. And they presented over several thousand documents to the Senate. The 2 members in the Senate that made the right decision saw the same evidence that we all did. Clearly, there's a fracture in their party. Clearly, there's something that they need to settle. But we should all seek the truth. And what happened here today was clearly 16 or so Republicans that clearly sought to have a political conclusion rather than do the right thing and send this man packing and eventually to jail. It's my hope that the FBI continues their investigation against Paxton because it's the right thing to do.
Texas State Senator Roland Gutierrez, we are thankful for you, sir. Appreciate it.